Imagine patrolling this remote canyon near the US-Mexico border back in the 1920s. There were no radios, there were no remote cameras, there were no helicopters, no quick backup. If something goes wrong, you're on your own. It was in these conditions on July 25, 1926, in Corn Canyon in Arizona's Huachuca Mountains, that Lon Parker became one of the earliest Border Patrol officers to be killed in the line of duty. And today I'm going to tell you his story. Lon grew up on a ranch in Canelo's rolling hills on the west side of the Huachucas and served in France during World War I as a gunnery sergeant. In 1919, he returned home from the war and worked on the family ranch and as a police officer. Before I go any further on Lon's story, though, I need to explain a little about what was going on in Arizona at this point in time. Arizona had adopted Prohibition in 1915, the law that banned the manufacture, sale, and transport of intoxicating liquors. In 1920, Prohibition was enacted nationwide.
Strong men are weeping and dry throats cry out in anguish as the stern and relentless gentlemen under Deputy Prohibition Administrator Amon carry on in a scene of frightful destruction.
The issue, of course, is that people still wanted to drink alcohol, and other people were willing to break the law to supply it.
But the stakes were high. For every gangster killed or caught, there were two to take his place.
Most of the smuggling took place along the U.S.-Canada border, but there was also smuggling right here on the southern border with Mexico, where more often it was a few tequileros with hidden bottles, or mules carrying cans of homemade tequila, being smuggled to miners, ranchers, and soldiers near the border. There weren't enough federal agents in place to stop the flow of liquor, and this is one of the reasons that, in 1924, the Border Patrol was established. Now, what does all of this have to do with Lon Parker? Well, he was hired as an inspector with this new Border Patrol law enforcement agency in September of 1924, not more than a few months after the agency was established. He was assigned close to home, patrolling the very same southeastern Arizona mountains and valleys he'd grown up in. The equipment he and other inspectors used was simple. Most traveled on horseback or in Model T Fords. They carried a revolver or a rifle and relied on local ranchers for information. In Lon's first month of work, he was involved in a shootout near Fort Huachuca with several smugglers. Less than 2 years later, in April 1926, he and several other patrol inspectors were involved in yet another shootout, this time about 60 miles west, near the Babo Cavari Mountains. This incident ended with Inspector William McKee being shot and killed by mescal smugglers, the 6th Border Patrol agent killed in the line of duty. 3 months later, on July 25, 1926, Lon got a tip from a rancher about the tracks of several smugglers and their horses on the west side of the Huachucas. His partner wasn't in the area, so he headed off on his horse to investigate on his own. The tracks led him south and then east up into the narrow confines of Corn Canyon, where you can still see the evidence of the mining that took place in this canyon in the early 1900s. Lon was shot right here in this canyon. The final report indicated that Lon was shot in the back. He was able to return fire and killed one of the smugglers and the smuggler's horse. Even though he was mortally wounded, Lon was able to ride his horse down the canyon and back to Tom Will's camp. Somewhere right in this area is where Tom Will's camp was, and where Lon Parker came and collapsed and was found shortly before his death. Buster Pyatt, a local rancher, recovered the body and drove it to the Parkers' family ranch in Canelo. The next day, he went to the location of the shootout and found and buried the well-known smuggler that Parker had killed, a local man named Artilio Espinosa. A posse searched for the other smugglers, but they were never found. Lon Parker was the 7th Border Patrol inspected to be killed in the line of duty. If you hike the Huachuca Mountains today, the country looks much as it did a century ago. The steep and rocky canyons, oak-covered Canelo Hills, and winding ranch roads remain nearly unchanged. But one thing that's different now is that there's a memorial to Patrol Inspector Lon Parker here along the forest road that leads to Corn Canyon. Lon never became a household name, but his dedication, determination, and ultimate sacrifice aren't forgotten.